Hey everyone, it's great to be back with you this morning. So last night we had week 2 of our I Promise series, where we're talking about some of the promises of God. Last week we started out talking about that God promises hope. And we looked at a story in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 31, where we saw the nation of Israel was conquered and captured by the Babylonians, and they were taken to Babylon. So we fast forwarded last night to the book in Jeremiah, to the chapter 42, and we saw that now Israel is no longer captive. However, they are living in the land of Babylon. And this was troublesome to them because they thought that Babylon would come back to capture them. So they pleaded to Jeremiah to go talk to the Lord and give them the okay that they wanted to go back to Egypt. Now, that's crazy. On one hand, they were familiar with Egypt, right? But on the other hand, they wanted to go back to a place that enslaved them so long ago. And they wanted it to be all good to go back there. But when Jeremiah petitioned the Lord, he came back with a message for the remnant of Israel. And he said that the Lord told him to not go back to Egypt and to stay in the land that they were, and that they would prosper there. But if they went back to Egypt, everything they were afraid of that Babylon was going to do would happen to them there: conquer, overthrow, lots of horribleness, lots of death. But Israel still wanted to do that anyway. And Jeremiah pleaded with them from the Lord and said, no, this is what the Lord says: stay in this nation, in this area in Babylon. So what did this mean for us? Well, we talked about this thing called obedience, right? And hopefully if you're watching this with your parent right now, they're looking down at you going, obedience. We talked about that there is blessing from the Lord in obedience, but there is consequence, there is discipline in disobedience. And the fact that last night, we talked about that God gives us a promise of peace. And when we are living in Him, in His will, and when we are living according to what He calls us to do, then we can have peace in the moment. Things can be crashing down around us. Listen, I'm not here to say that life is all puppies and rainbows. But when we are in God's presence and we are living according to Him, we can know that when life does get down and hard, that we can have peace in Him, knowing that He is working all things out for the greater good. So my encouragement, my challenge to you is, what would it look like in your life to fully surrender to God, to be completely obedient to Him, and be able to live in the peace that comes from knowing that He is good. Hope to see you guys next week for our last week of I Promise. Have a good one.